So here we are with the finals then, and as always, of course, kicking off with the Honda Cadet finals, and on pole position, of course, Charlie Knight alongside Ollie Tyler, then Ethan Leader, Charlie Vaughan, Thomas Kakuro Yeomans, and Cameron Ross made up the top 6 on the grid. But as we can see now, in the lead of the race, Ollie Tyler in the C-plated kart ahead of Charlie Knight, so the top 2 swapped around. Ethan Leader and Edward Leader are in 4th, 5th is Vaughan, and 6th Kakuro Yeomans. Sean Cuss is 7th, 8th is Harry James, Luke Rendell is 9th, Kyron Jenkins in 10th position. Drivers make their way around with the 13-minute finals, of course. Incredibly long finals, with over 9 minutes still to go. And the top 4 separated themselves out from 5th position. 5th place, Charlie Vaughan, rather lonesome, and it's been like that for him a couple of times today, if I remember rightly. But he's got a group then behind him, 6th, 7th, 8th, which are relatively close together. Kakuro Yeomans, Cuss and James all fighting it out for 6th position. But the top 4, Tyler, Knight, and both of the leaders battling for the lead at the moment, which currently Ollie Tyler is on top of that fight. No changes in order with the top 10 then, apart from 10th place, Cameron Ross moving up, getting past Luke Rendell and Liam Deedman on that previous lap. Number 24 now creeps into the top 10. And there's an incident here just off the exit of the S's. About 3 karts involved, I believe, but all of them able to get going again, so that's fortunate. But now in the race lead is Charlie Knight in the lead of the race, with Edward Leader in 2nd. 3rd is Ollie Tyler, and 4th is Ethan Leader. So Tyler losing 2 positions down into 3rd place now. But look at all the defending going on. Charlie Knight. Oh, and there's a spinner. It looks like there's been contact between those drivers, and one of the drivers off into the tyre wall. And it looks like this could potentially be a red flag. One of the spectators waving and trying to get the attention of the marshals. And the driver's off into the tyre wall. I get this feeling that this might not be too good. Yellow flags waving for now. Been told it is going to be a red flag. The first red flag of the meeting in the Honda Cadet final, due to one of the drivers going off. I believe it was Ethan Leader. So the red flag, and the race will be stopped temporarily. So it seems that we are underway once again then with the Honda Cadet final after that delay due to the red flag. Fortunately though, we can get underway again, and it's Charlie Knight who resumes the race lead from where he left off. Edward Leader second position with Ollie Tyler in third, fourth Charlie Vaughan, fifth Sean Cuss and Luke Rendell, Ethan Leader, Cameron Ross, George Walker and Ethan Simmons make out to the top 10. But there are 3 retirements now. Kakaruro Yeomans, Liam Deedman and Joshua Whittington Couch all out of the running, so 13 karts remain. But Ethan Leader, having been more or less the reason for the red flag, I mean, I'm not saying he was at fault, but he was why the red flag was called, because of his supposed risk of an injury. He's now doing well. He's back up into the top 6 in 6th position and not doing too badly. But we've got just under 5 minutes to go now in this race, the first final of the day, as we approach 4 o'clock, and hopefully this one, or the rest of the day, can continue without such delays, especially since I've got to be at work at 5:30. But regardless, we've got Ollie Tyler in the lead in the C-plated kart. We've got Charlie Knight, number 43. He's in second position. Third place is Edward Leader. Sean Cuss is fourth in the number 69. Really pulling out all the stocks on the last race of the day. Charlie Vaughan in 5th and 6th. Ethan Leader. And they really could be the 6 to watch throughout the day. We've got the top 5 are pretty close together, but we know that Ethan Leader is a very, very capable racer, going from anything, if anything today is to go by, then certainly that is the case. And he could well be catching up to the back of that group. But at the moment, it seems that the real battle for the lead lies in the hands of Ollie Tyler and Charlie Knight. Charlie Knight currently in second position. And then third place, the number 22 of Edward Leader. Edward Leader, of course, with Ethan Leader, both have had very good days throughout the day, proving their worth in the Honda Cadet class. But currently the C-plated Ollie Tyler is the leader of the race, and with just over 3 minutes to go, well over the over halfway through the race now, in the effectively the closing stages, even with 3 minutes to go, which sounds crazy, but really long finals. It's good for the drivers to get the track time, no doubt about it, getting your money's worth at Clay Pigeon Kart Club. But Ollie Tyler is leading the way, and Charlie Knight still in second position. Vaughan has managed to get past Cuss, by the way. Cuss has been holding on for a few laps, but ultimately couldn't till right at the end, and now Sean Cuss could be at a threat of conceding another position to Ethan Leader, who is catching up. 0.2 seconds he caught up by on that previous lap. As the drivers come across the start-finish line, it is Ollie Tyler who leads away. Charlie Knight is second, Edward Leader is third, fourth Charlie Vaughan, fifth Cuss, sixth Ethan Leader. And into the S's they go then, with 2 minutes to go. Heading into the hairpin go the leaders, Ollie Tyler, followed by Charlie Knight. A few positions changing around the bottom of the field as well. Harry James moving up into the top 10, with Kyron Jenkins up into 11th, having got past Mason Perrin and Ethan Simmons. But in the lead of the race, Ollie Tyler, still under pressure from Charlie Knight, who keeps reeling him in. Can he do anything about the race leader, though? One thing to note, actually, the very strong headwind, the fact that that's blowing into the drivers' faces, means that getting slipstream from other karts really does add speed boost somewhat, and obviously the tailwind therefore going down the Sturmey straight. But it means that in the cadets, where their low power means the slipstream so effective anyway, means that going down the pit straight really could be an opportunity to pass. And another thing to mention, I just saw a spot of rain appear on my commentary box there, just one single drop, so hopefully that doesn't develop into anything. But nonetheless, the race continues, and less than a minute to go now. still the order remains with the top 6. Tyler, Knight, leader, Vaughan, Cuss, and then Ethan leader. But most of that field is relatively dispersed, apart from the top 2. Tyler versus Knight, who you suspect one of the two will be the victor at the end of this. It might be hard to envisage anyone else. Edward leader, although he's in 3rd, is over a second behind Charlie Knight in 2nd position, so whether that will remain till the end, shall find out, but certainly something to consider. But Edward leader doesn't really have enough time now to do anything about the top 2. It has to be Ollie Tyler or Charlie Knight, unless they have a coming together, of course, which can happen in the last lap. The heat of the moment, the adrenaline. And no time left on the clock, so the next lap will be the one to conclude the Honda Cadets for round 5 here at Clay Pigeon Kart Club for the 2016 season. And here they come now onto the pit straight, opting not for the slipstream option, heading into that fierce headwind where the slipstream would be so effective, but diving up the inside now. And it's Ollie Tyler under some real pressure from Charlie Knight. Charlie Knight does go up the inside, into the S's, and onto the Sturmey straight. Charlie Knight now leading the race. Now he's got to hold on with Ollie Tyler right on his heels, but as they go into the hairpin, still holding the lead at the moment. Charlie Knight, the number 43, he heads into the horseshoe, still holding the advantage. Ollie Tyler's going to try and go around the outside, the right-hand bend, can't quite do so there. Heading into the top end, got to get the most excellent exit they possibly can now. Going to use the slipstream to his advantage, Ollie Tyler, I'm sure, but Charlie Knight is going to try and come across the line in the lead. Who will come across the line? It will just about be Charlie Knight. Charlie Knight takes the checkered flag ahead of Ollie Tyler. Edward leader takes 3rd, 4th, Charlie Vaughan 5th, Ethan leader. Sean Cuss does miss out on the last lap there. And Sean Cuss does end up finishing in 6th. 7th, Cameron Ross. 8th, George Walker. Luke Rendell finishes in 9th. 10th, Harry James, being very closely followed across the line by Kyron Jenkins. Mason Perrin comes across the line to finish his race in 12th. 13th place, Ethan Simmons. But what a race. And Charlie Knight manages to take the win ahead of Ollie Tyler. Could have been any of the top 5 a few laps ago, but really turned into that battle for 2. Or, well, of 2, and then eventually Charlie Knight able to come out on top. So there we go. Charlie Knight, the victor of the Honda Cadet final. The Minimax and the Junior TKM final lining up to get underway. In formation now, and we'll be away with the 13 minutes that we will see here, and it is going to be Tom Adams on pole position, having claimed 89 points over the day. Jensen Watts on 2nd place alongside him. Will Uphill and Tiernan Rourke make up 3rd and 4th, and of course Joseph Rockward on pole position for the Junior TKM. But Tom Adams in the lead from pole position after the first lap. Jenson Watt second, Will Uphill and Tiernan Rourke rounding out the rest of the field. Tom Adams still leading the way then. Jenson Watts, Will Uphill and Tiernan Rourke, the rest of the field. Still that order remains. Tiernan Rourke has finished 4th in every race so far. See if he can manage to do anything different here. But Watts and Uphill have been struggling to keep up with Tom Adams throughout the day. Can they prove that they can manage the upheaval that would see Tom Adams not take 3 of the 4 victories of the races so far today? At the moment he's on course, but still a hell of a long time left, over 11 minutes of the 13-minute finals. And it is Jenson Watts who is currently in the best position to compete with the race leader in second place, the number 36, setting a personal best of a 37.34, identical in fact to Tom Adams' best time of a 37.34. The order remains, no changes as of yet, not even at all, not even at any stage during the race has anyone even swapped positions, so hopefully that will change, otherwise could be a bit of a bland race, but still very close, the 4 drivers. And the battle for second really is close. Uphill versus Watts. Uphill could have the advantage heading down the pit straight. Instead opting to stay right on the bumper of Watts and not creating an opportunity out of it by perhaps switching to the inside lane. As the 3 karts follow one another, while Tom Adams not following anyone in the lead of the race where he wants to be. And keeps glancing over his shoulder every now and again just to check, to make sure the drivers are behind, to make sure that they are out of arm's reach effectively. Three of them head down to Billy's Blind once more. Into the hairpin, and now they make their way onto the horseshoe for is the 7th time. Tiernan Rourke already dropping off of those 3, unfortunately for him. So close together, and now, in fact, the battle for first looks just as close as the battle for second was just a couple of laps ago. Jenson Watts and Will Uphill have closed in on the race leader. Tom Adams under some threat here. His race lead could soon be no more with just 1 kart getting through, but nothing to consider, of course, the fact that if Jenson Watts were to get past Tom Adams, then would Will Uphill be able to follow Watts through, in which case Adams would then lose 2 positions. And that's certainly far from unlikely. Watts is very close to Will Uphill, unable to shake the number 85, and in that difficult position of not knowing whether to attack the driver in front, to defend the position, to just keep racing as your pace allows you to. But he's got to make that decision, because otherwise Will Uphill is likely to try and punish him. Just over 6.5 minutes to go then, and make their way into Billy's blind for the 10th time. Flying into the S's and onto the Sturmey straight, it is Tom Adams who leads the way from Jensen Watts. Will Uphill is in 3rd position, 4th Tiernan Rourke, and then Joseph Hawkwood is still leading his way in the junior TKM. No changes of position as yet during the entirety of this race, and we just wonder whether maybe the 2 drivers behind in 2nd and 3rd are perhaps biding their time, just thinking of whether they just wait until the last lap, as did Tom Adams on the as did Charlie Knight, sorry, on the in the previous race in the Honda Cadets, where Knight just passed Tyler on the final lap of the race. It didn't seem like he was making too many attacking manoeuvres before then, so maybe he was just holding on to the last lap of the race. You know then that there's less chance for your rival to come back at you, so whether that is what Jensen Watts is waiting to, well, we'll have to wait till the last lap to see that. But without a doubt, the 2 in 2nd and 3rd will be wanting to get into the lead, but they'll have to work pretty hard to get there, and this is pretty bad news for Will Uphill, as the junior TKM of Joseph Hawkwood gets in his way and sort of holds him up for a little while, but fortunately the gap between any of the drivers isn't too big. Still the top 3 separated by just 0.7 of a second, but that is a bigger gap than it has been over the last few laps. Certainly that gap opening up somewhat. And Tiernan Rourke, meanwhile, is also opening up the gap between Uphill and himself. Over 4 seconds now separate himself and the number 85 in 3rd. But the top 3, still, any of them could still take victory in this one. You have to think that maybe that is their plan now, Watts and Uphill, whether they maybe are just holding on to the last lap. They know that if they pass Tom Adams, then there's much less time for him to retaliate, much less time for him to get back into that position. They'll just have to hold on. But in terms of best lap times, 36.77 for Will Uphill means he currently has the pride of owning the fastest lap time. Then a 36.78, so slower by 1/100th of a second, is Jensen Watts. Those laps set on lap 16 and 15, but now in fact it does go quicker by Will Uphill, a 36.75 0.4, so closing to Jensen Watts by 0.12 of a second, and was very close indeed going over the line, but there we go. So uphill clearly having pace, and still a battling goes on for second. Tom Adams just checking something on his kart, but two drivers behind him certainly seems to turn Will Uphill's going to try and go on the inside, and they touch, and Will Uphill comes together with the number 36 of Jensen Watts. Just touched the back end going into the S's. Wasn't really enough room for the two of them, and Watts goes round. He has managed to rejoin, and not even rejoining last. I'm pretty sure he's rejoined ahead of Tin and Rourke, but this does mean now that the lead is almost guaranteed. The victory is almost guaranteed for Tom Adams in the lead now. Those two coming together has shattered the dreams of either of them getting the win here. Tom Adams, his lead will be over 7 seconds now. It is indeed 7.38 of a second, and you know that's a big gap. With also, no, it is back to Tin and Rourke, so Jensen Watts has been overtaken by Rourke as well. So Watts has come off worse, and even though you may perhaps argue it was Will Uphill's fault, it was obviously that will have to be dealt with by the stewards, but Uphill seemed to just maybe be a bit too optimistic for that move. He went for the move. Jensen Watts, he was the real victim of it. It seemed like, from my perspective, but Tom Adams seemingly on his way to a relatively comfortable victory now. Last lap board does come out now, and we are on the last lap. Don't think much is going to happen for the rest of this lap. The carts don't seem very close together, but that's a good victory there for Tom Adams, no doubt about it. He'll be pleased with that, especially considering he did not have the pace of the carts behind him, immediately behind him. Anyway, Will Uphill and Jensen Watts arguably was quicker as well. He'll be pleased to get that result despite not really having the best of races, the two coming together. Gifted Tom Adams the victory and takes a checkered flag. Well done to him. But now we move on from the Minimax final onto the Senior TKM race number 24 up next. 5 Senior TKM getting ready for their final then. The grid order will be Derek Hunt on pole position with Oliver Nitch-Smith alongside him. Row 2, Max Tad and William Davis. And Mike Reese at the back. And away we go then with the 5 competitors out there today. And swamped from the start, pole sitter Hunt. He lost a few positions there, but number 64 of Ollie Nitch-Smith gets away on the start line. And already has established a little lead for himself. Max Tad up into second now. And Will Davis, having managed to get his kart started for the first time in 2 races, he is sitting in 4th place. So there we go. Nitch-Smith, Tad, Hunt, Davis, Reese is the order. As the 5 drivers head down then across the start-finish line once again to complete their second lap. And already it seems like it could be a 2-way battle. Ollie Nitch-Smith and Max Tad battling for the lead. Max Tad's going to switch up the inside here. He goes past Oliver Nitch-Smith and takes the lead of the race in the sky blue 35. Sweeping into the right-hand bend and up towards the top end. See how the slipstream will affect the drivers as they make their way down the pit straight. Could it benefit? Could it help any of them at all? As drivers make their way down, no changes this time. Of course, Max Tad up into the lead. That shows up on the graphic now, but Ollie Nitch-Smith down into second place with Hunt and Davis in 3rd and 4th. Could be a pretty close affair, but Max Tad seems to be running away at the moment. He's opening up that gap back to Oliver Nitch-Smith, who lacked the pace when he was in the lead. He just couldn't quite get the engine working to escape. Hunt goes on the inside of Oliver Nitch-Smith and now dives up the inside and goes up into second position. Can he do anything about the race leader as they make their way into the hairpin and drift out as wide as they can to switch into the horseshoe as they all try and find their way towards the rear bumper of Max Tad, who's currently leading the race. Does seem to have the upper hand on the rest of the karts at the moment. He holds the fastest lap of 36.28, set on the previous lap there. Still the 3 drivers very closely competing in that midfield sort of role for the second place. Derek Hunt, Ollie Nitch-Smith and William Davis battling for second place. Mike Reese is in 5th position and is a fair way off not only the pace but also physically off the other drivers. He's over 3.2 seconds behind Will Davis now, who is in 4th position. Max Tad leads the way though in the number 35. The 3 stream down for second place. Derek Hunt leading the way. Oliver Nitch-Smith is now behind Will Davis as well. Will Davis has managed to get past. And so he's now finding his form, having not been able to start either Heat 2 nor Heat 3. He was demoted down to 4th on the grid, but of course with a grid of 5. The grid positions are of minimum contribution realistically. Means you can get through the field in a heartbeat if you've got the pace to do so. Max Tad, though, seemingly strolling to victory at the moment, opening up his lead every lap by a fair amount. 0.37 seconds he opened it up by on that previous lap. A 36.3 was set by Max Tad. And interestingly, none of the drivers have actually set a faster lap time, apart from Oliver Nitch-Smith, since lap 4. And we're now on lap 8, so seems like the drivers, I don't know, whether they might be getting a bit slower for whatever reason. Don't know quite what that would be. I think the tyres will be warming up now. They'd be getting to their optimum temperature, but maybe they're just starting to wear out a little bit. Hunt, Davids and Nitch-Smith is still the order in that battle for second place. Third currently is Davis, and then Nitch-Smith is in fourth. Fifth, Mike Reese, still over 4.3 seconds behind Oliver Nitch-Smith, and would you be particularly surprised to see him pull into the pits before long to maybe save the tyre, save the fuel? Who knows, but he's not catching up, and that's for sure. Max Tad leads the way with no trouble at all for him. A 36.3 for him and a 36.5 for Derek Hunt. Fastest lap is currently held by Max Tad, a 36.28. And that will set on lap 4. A pretty quick time, that. A 36.44 is set. A 36.44 set by Derek Hunt means that he's currently holding the second fastest lap, and Max Tad is holding the fastest. The next is Will Davis and Ollie Nitch-Smith. So the best lap times is followed indeed by the order of the karts themselves, so let's see whether that has any influence at all. But going on that, the pace that the karts are going, they should just keep getting further apart now. Derek Hunt did open up back to Will Davis on the previous lap, is opening that gap up slightly. Five minutes and 20 seconds to go now. But there we go, Derek Hunt in second position, followed by Will Davis and Oliver Nitch-Smith, all of whom actually closed in on one another on that previous lap, so battle for second certainly isn't completely dead yet. Derek Hunt over 4.3 seconds behind Max Tad. So it does seem that Max Tad has that lead pretty well done. And he is doing well, in fairness to number 35, just opening up that lead, as any good leader does do, just opens up that lead carefully. Three and a half minutes to go now, and with there being no changes in positions over the last few laps, could that set the tone for the rest of the race, I wonder? Still, the battle for second is hot, not really ferocious, but certainly still viable. Hunt is being very much chased down by Will Davis, and a few laps ago, it was looking like he just opened up that advantage. It was about a 0.3 or a 0.4 advantage he had back to Davis, but now it does seem that that gap has been decreased drastically, and Davis now right on the back of the number 22. Ollie Nitch-Smith is also not too far away from that battle either, but Mike Rees still behind in the number 59. Over 10 seconds now behind fourth place Oliver Nitch-Smith, and Max Tad seems to have his lead more or less settled with over a 5-second advantage now. Back to Derek Hunt in second place. Coming up to 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go, sorry. And Max Tad, as he heads down from the top bend, heading down the pit straight once more to complete his 18th lap. He's done a very good job so far in this race. Hunt, Davis and Nitch-Smith still remains the order. Second, third and fourth. With their way down the Sturmey Straight for what is the 19th time now. As I've said, it's almost ludicrous to suggest that maybe 2-3 years ago that they'd be having finals in 2016 that were over 20 laps long. Everyone would have laughed at you or thought, well, I'm nowhere near fit enough for that, but it has been how it's turned out. Over 13-minute finals, and of course timings instead of laps means that maybe the time does offer the drivers more, and over 19 laps done already by the drivers, and still over a minute to go. Max Tad does lead the way, and there's going to be, I'd imagine, over maybe 21 laps of this race. 19 laps gone. We are entering the closing stages, and still the battle for second remains open. Far from settled is that one. Max Tad recently set his fastest lap of 36.26, set on lap 18. The other lap times, the most recent one was set on lap 6, so certainly they haven't been as quick as they were in the early stages, but Max Tad has. He's just been opening up his lead, really putting in some very impressive pace there. 6.1 seconds his advantage now. No question who the victor of this one's going to be, unless he has a supreme error in the last 2 laps here. But 21 laps down, and we're not even on the last lap yet. Derek Hunt versus Will Davis versus Ollie Nitch-Smith in the final closing stages here. The clock has hit 0. There will be one more lap after the one that they're currently on to conclude the rest of the race. And, well, Will Davis has got to absolutely throw the kitchen sink at and everything he's got at second place Hunt if he wants to progress. But there we go, last lap now for these drivers. Will Davis giving Hunt a little nudge, and Hunt will have to take a defensive line into Billy's blind. Davis is going to have a look at the inside, but he can't quite do anything there. Into the S's they go, onto the Sturmey Straight they go. Still the order remains. Max Tad will go on to take victory, but taking another defensive line. Hunt into the hairpin as they exit the hairpin, going into the horseshoe now. Here comes Derek Hunt, currently still holding second position into the horseshoe. And he does still hold that position now, heading down into the right-hand bend, into the top end. Will Davis, will he be able to create an opportunity? Max Tad takes a check of the flag. And he made it look easy, didn't he? But Hunt's now going across the line. He will just about be able to take second place ahead of Will Davis, ahead of Oliver Nitch-Smith. So there we go. The 3 of those carts were separated by just over a 1/10 of a second. 3 carts by just over a 1/10 of a second. So close from the senior TKM. Mike Rees concludes his race and the race by coming across the line in 5th. But Max Tad really made that look easy. Takes the best lap, takes the victory, and with a margin of over 6.5 seconds. Really a great job by the number 35, but Derek Hunt and does manage to take second place ahead of Will Davis after a lot of sustained pressure by the number 89. And now we move forward, looking at the next race, which will be the Miami Cadets. And now we are in the Miami Cadet final then. It is Thomas Bran who currently leads away in the final here for the Miamis, and with just one lap gone, he has taken some really fantastic results throughout the day. All 3 wins in the heats, and see if he can replicate that to make it 4 out of 4. He did a few meetings ago. I think it was in the May meeting, perhaps. He managed to do that. Whether he did last month, obviously, I don't know, or might not have been May, but I think so. He managed to take all 4 victories, and Thomas Bran on for yet another quadruple, effectively. Cameron Crockett is in second position with Daniel Thorne and Kieran Roberts in third and fourth. Aaron Walker, meanwhile, never even came out. He did 2 sectors, never actually completed a lap, pulled straight into the pits, and already seems to be out of the running. So unfortunate for Aaron Walker, and unfortunate for spectators as well, meaning that we have now only got 4 karts out on the circuit, and it doesn't seem that Thomas Brand is going to be stopped. The novice drivers, while they've been competitive throughout the day, no doubt about that, they haven't quite matched Thomas Brand's quality and the pace he's constantly shown with the Miami Cadets out on the track. With the Honda Cadet setting times around the 41 mark, you'd expect Miami's to be around that. They're currently, well, the last lap they set 42.25. So you suspect that the Honda Cadets may be more experienced drivers. Well, that goes without a doubt, doesn't it? The Miami, a much newer class. If you remember the Coma Cadets from a couple of years back, the Miami effectively replacing the Coma Cadet. The Coma Cadets always had a pretty good turnout when it was Honda Cadets followed by Coma Cadets as the first 2 races of the day. Can hope, and it's not unrealistic hope, that the Miami Cadets will someday grow to be as popular as the Coma Cadets were. Coma Cadets almost completely being eradicated from racing now, which is sad to a certain extent, but the Army's a suitable replacement, and the Honda Cadets still a pretty decent grid, it has to be said, and still decent racing from the Hondas. Although the real race to watch will be the Senior Max later on, race number 27. Keep your eyes on that one. Also, 177 race, which will be the next one up. 177 and 177 Masters. After the rest of this race is finished, then that one will be one to watch, no doubt about it. Cameron Crockett is being followed by Daniel Thorne and Kieran Roberts in the battle for the best placed novice at the moment. Cameron Crockett is very much on top of that battle. Daniel Thorne isn't too far behind in the number 5. Seven laps gone for each of these drivers now, and already the field looking fairly spaced out. There's not too much going on in terms of potential manoeuvres. Thomas Brand has nearly escaped. You'd imagine even if he'd spun, he'd still be able to probably get going again and potentially still be holding on to the lead of the race. Cameron Crockett in second place, ahead of Daniel Thorne, who isn't too far behind. He's less than half a second behind, but not close enough to make a move at the moment. Kieran Roberts is in 4th, is behind the drivers, the other novice drivers, I should say, but again, not close enough to really make a move. The 3 of those karts are pretty evenly spaced out. Much narrower line taken by Daniel Thorne out of the hairpin there, as the fastest lap of the race belongs to the race leader, Thomas Brand, a 41.6, a 41.66 actually, a 41.94 he set on his previous lap, so 3/10 slower than his personal best, but nonetheless is still opening up that lead back to his nearest competitor, Cameron Crockett, who set a 42.25 on that previous lap. Daniel Thorne setting a 42.28, meaning that the gap between them opens up a little bit more as well. So Crockett in the lead ahead of Daniel Thorne. Kieran Roberts in 4th position at the back at the moment, and well, there haven't been any changes in the order since the start of the race once again. Let's hope that in the last 6 minutes that that can change. But coming up to 7 minutes and 20 seconds gone, meaning that we're over halfway now through the race. There'll probably be about 19 laps in this race, I'd imagine. 18, 19 laps, something like that. As Cameron Crockett and Daniel Thorne having a bit more of a squabble now. That tussle developing, at least a little bit. Daniel Thorne attempting to try get past Cameron Crockett as well as he can. Has a look up the inside but decides against it. Cameron Crockett just making sure that at the moment that second position remains as his. Both of these drivers fairly inexperienced of racing. Maybe a more experienced driver may have committed and stuck with that move to go on the inside of Cameron Crockett. It seemed that he had the pace to do so. Going down the headwind, that's the real opportunity for them. Using the airspace, which effectively the kart in front clears. And with such low power engines, as I've mentioned, the Miami and the Honda Cadets, or particularly the Hondas, but to a lesser extent, the Miamis, they can really push forward and use that slipstream to their advantage, try and get past their counterparts, their competitors. But at the moment, it seems that Daniel Thorne is just sticking behind Cameron Crockett. He had an opportunity on the Sturmy straight once again. Cameron Crockett taking a fairly narrow line out of the S's to make sure he had a particularly wide line going into the hairpin, but Daniel Thorne still battling with Crockett for second place. Heading down into Billy's blind as they race their way into the S's once more, and now onto the Sturmy straight. Could there be an opportunity in the last 3.5 minutes for Daniel Thorne to get past Cameron Crockett? And a fairly defensive drive in there by Cameron Crockett, just blocking the right hand bend, making sure that Daniel Thorne didn't have an opportunity to get through. But now heading down the pit straight once more, trying to get to that inside lane of the Billy's blind, which had really grabbed a great opportunity for Daniel Thorne, but just unable to quite get in that position to get past Cameron Crockett. Still that battle rages on for second place. Meanwhile, Thomas Brand has opened up his lead to over 11 seconds now, so Brand really in very much easy street by now. He heads down the pit straight on his way to complete his 15th lap with 2.5 minutes to go. Over 10 minutes gone in this race then, and still we don't know whether it will be Crockett or Thorne who will finish ahead. Thorne now really had his best opportunity yet alongside Crockett. Maybe he'd be better just hanging right on the back of him and then switching to the inside at last moment. That's how a lot of moves of Billy's blind get done, but today, due to the strong headwind, it has been in the slight left curve that there is in the pit straight. That's been a great opportunity for passing with just the overspeed that the karts get heading down towards that area. Means they can actually get the move done before Billy's blind, which isn't so frequently seen, but I've seen that maybe 3 or 4 times throughout the day. From the top end, need to get that great exit, of course, to get the maximum amount of speed they can heading down the pit straight. Thomas Brand truly almost half a lap ahead of the rest of the drivers out there. Cameron Crockett is just about ahead of Daniel Thorne, but Thorne certainly getting closer. That gap between them has stayed very steady over the last few laps, and while Kieran Roberts isn't threatening so much in the number 78, he's dropped off a little bit in 4th place. Still, those two drivers battling out for second. Cameron Crockett undoubtedly aware of Thorne's presence, just determined to keep him behind as long as he can into the S's. They swing with 40 seconds left on the clock. They'll go across the line here to see their penultimate lap. Thomas Brand in the race lead. Knows he hasn't got long left now before he'll take the checkered flag. Cameron Crockett and Daniel Thorne once again close together, and now it's really turning into the dying embers of the game. That is this race, and well, we shall see. Could be make or break over the last couple of laps here. Crockett versus Thorne, a battle for second. Obviously not the biggest trophy that is available today, but certainly one that both drivers will want to be able to get, and one that both drivers can get with their heads held high should they manage to do so. still battling so ferociously. Thorn obviously determined to get past the number 88 in second position. Now, down the pit straight they come for the second from last time. Across the line they go, into Billy's blind they go. Seen the last lap board. Thorn will know the last opportunities are coming and going as we speak. Down the Sturmy straight, he's got to take the inside lane. He decides not to. Going into the hairpin, maybe settling for this position now. Will he switch to the inside, going into the horseshoe? Can't quite do so. Crockett has that covered. Across the line, taking the checkered flag on 4 wins out of 4 goes Thomas Bran. A brilliant day for him, the number 71. But now, coming down the pit straight, who will it be? Crockett versus Thorn. Looks like Crockett, who's been holding on all this time, will just about manage to take the win. Ahead of him, well, not the win technically, but the win for the second place at least. And third place goes to Daniel Thorn. Kieran Roberts will take fourth. And there we go with the Miami Cadet final. Not the most incredible race of all time, but certainly interesting. And Crockett was able to hold on during the latter stages there, with Thorn breathing down his neck. But now we have the 177 Masters for their final, race number 26. .177's getting ready, and away they go then. Daniel Martin on the front row alongside Julian Howell. And it was Gary Cox alongside Keith Bishop on row 2, Mark Tedder, Joe Walmsley on row 3, row 4, Simon Gover and Rob Prince, with Dean Mann and Samuel Dix running out the top 10 on the grid. And just 2 more races to go after this one, of course, before the conclusion of the meeting. But this will certainly still be one to watch, no doubt about it. Daniel Martin, in fact, has actually lost out on the lead in these early stages. He's currently sitting in second position. He's behind Julian Howell, the number 19. Leading the race. And see if he can hold on to that. Making their way down into the hairpin. Through to the horseshoe. Dean Mann's obviously had a bit of a incident on the first lap, considering that he's about to be lapped and it's only just getting on to lap 2 here. So here he comes across the lap, across the line there, but Julian Howell followed by Daniel Martin and Mark Tedder. This is the battle we want to see. Daniel Martin has overtaken Julian Howell to go into the lead of the race, the number 70. And perhaps where we'd expect it to be, yellow flags waving for an incident that's involved 3 karts, 3 of them off. And once again, Stephen Nash unfortunately involved with that incident, but Rob Prince also, and I believe also maybe the number 33 Joe Walmsley And so Walmsley, Prince and Nash all victims of that incident there, but Nash and Prince managed to get going again. Walmsley hasn't got off so easily. Simon Gover maintains his position of... no, he doesn't maintain his position of safety. In fact, he's the one who's been involved in the incident as well. Yellow flag still waving for the road down to Billy's blind. But it is, in fact, Samuel Dix who's up into 5th place. 6th is Martin Howell. 7th, Keith Bishop. Tony Wilson is in 8th. 9th, Steve Nash. Rob Prince is in 10th. 11th, Simon Gover. Joe Walmsley out of the running, as we know, at number 33. But there we go, 11 karts left running. It is Daniel Martin still leading the way. Julian Howell in 2nd and Mark Tedder 3rd. This really could be the battle that you'd want to see, especially from a 177's fans sort of kind of view, because, well, Mark Tedder hasn't really been behind Julian Howell for much of the day. It'll be interesting to see how we get past, because those are the two which you consider to be the second best, perhaps, behind Daniel Martin, who usually does dominate proceedings at 177s, but hasn't been the case today. Mark Tedder certainly given him a run for his money, and Julian Howell obviously got the better start at the start of this race. Daniel Martin is not escaping. It'll be interesting to see whether Julian Howell and Mark Tedder can get past. There is a mechanical flag for the number 60, so that's Keith Bishop. He is going to have to come into the pits to get that sorted on his kart. Should have seen the sign that time by. Still continue racing, at least for this lap. Daniel Martin leading the way then, ahead of Julian Howell and Mark Tedder. The 3, and you suspect all 3 of them are good enough racers to do it. Gary Cox is 4th, Samuel Dix is 5th. And with a bit of a helping hand of that incident, of course, between Walmsley, Prince and Nash. But Nash, meanwhile, has recovered well. He's up into 6th place behind Samuel Dix. Martin Howell 7th over the line, but Martin Howell and Tedder all close together, and Tedder isn't too far away from Howell, you know. That could be a change for 2nd place before long. Seven minutes and 50 seconds to go. Still a very, very long time left for Daniel Martin to hold on to the lead, but we know he's an expert in doing so, holding on to the lead till the very end. And indeed, ending up doing incredibly well and just opening up that lead to a very sustainable margin, but he hasn't been able to do that so far in this race. He's still got the lead, but it's far from a really comfortable one. A 0.37 advantage is good, but it's far from guaranteeing a victory. Julian Howell and Mark Tedder close behind. And into Billy's blind, Julian Howell is looking closer to Daniel Martin, or as close as he has been since he's gone behind. Closed in by over a 10th on that previous lap. And now the number 19 right behind the number 70. Mark Tedder in the number 22 isn't far off either. Heading into the top bend, go the top 3. Number 70, Daniel Martin. leading the way with Julian Howell and Mark Tedder hot on his heels. Gary Cox is in 4th, and then there's a huge gap back to Samuel Dix, who's currently in 5th place, but he's over 10 seconds back to from Gary Cox, sorry. So Samuel Dix very much in no man's land. And in fact, you could say Gary Cox the same, really, in 4th position. He's over 3 seconds behind Mark Tedder, and obviously 10 seconds clear of Samuel Dix. Oh, gets on the grass slightly there, Mark Tedder. A small mistake from the number 22, but now still Howell right on the back of Daniel Martin. Really could turn into a race to remember. Martin is being held by Julian Howell at the moment. Very much that lead. And the race lead is becoming very much under threat. Daniel Martin leads the way though. Just over 5 minutes to go. Daniel Martin, number 70, from number 19, Julian Howell, from number 22, Mark Tedder. Still is the top 3, but maybe surprisingly, is Howell and Martin are closer than Howell and Tedder. Just going on the form and the pace throughout the day, you'd perhaps expect Tedder to be threatening Howell more than Howell and the race leader, but obviously Howell has found the pace in this one, and 35.78 as his personal best means that Howell also holds the fastest lap time. Second fastest lap time belongs to Mark Tedder, and then the third fastest lap time does belong to the race leader. So in terms of sheer race pace, Julian Howell does hold that advantage, but does he hold the key to getting past the race leader in order to take the victory? And now he does look up the inside, going down the inside of that left-hand curve. Can't quite do so there, though, into Billy's blind. Daniel Martin does still hold the advantage, but Howell is getting closer. Let's make their way down to the hairpin and into the horseshoe. There you go. Daniel Martin still holding on to the race lead at the moment. Daniel Martin in the lead from Julian Howell. Very, very close still, the two drivers. And unfortunately, that is going to be, well, I'm going to have to leave you with commentary. I have work at 5:30, so I've got to get back home in order to get ready for work. So I'm going to leave the commentary here. Thanks to everyone watching on the live stream, and thanks to all of you spectators for watching throughout the day, as always. But I'm going to have to stop the commentary just for the last couple of races here. Really close between the top two. I wish I could stay, but yeah, I'm sure that'll be a brilliant race. One to remember. Daniel Martin and Julian Howell, very, very close indeed. But I'm going to have to stop. I've been your commentator for today, Sam Hunt. Thanks, as always, for having me. I'll see you again next month. Take care.